The floodlights at the Morowali Industrial Park stay on throughout the night. Around the clock, workers operate the site in massive factories. Morowali Industrial Park has its own power plants and even its own port and airport. 200,000 people work here. All activity revolves around a single core commodity, nickel.
最近几年镍成为一个热土，最主要是原因呢，我们的三元动力电池，镍这块的话，我们现在主要面临用户就是新能源动力电池的汽车，当然说它也可以用来做3C 电池、锂电池，比如说我们的手机，充电器。
Just 10 years ago, this site in Morowali was dense rainforest and a small village of about 1,000 people. Today, the sprawling park is spread across 3,500 hectares, and it takes 45 minutes to drive from one end to another. Chinese investment was critical to Morowali's growth, and it is Chinese stainless steel giant Qingshan that led the charge. Hamid Mina, the person at the center of the transformation from forests to factories, explains how it happened. He sits in Jakarta with multiple cameras monitoring his billion-dollar business in Morowali.
I began in 2006. At that time, nobody interested in nickel. 2009, we cooperate with China Qingshan in order to supply them the nickel ore to China. So we start export on 2010. Then the Qingshan said, we are good in building the factory and producing. This is our know-how. You are Indonesian, you know Indonesian. Rule, regulation, everything. So we split our job. 2013, we start building a first factory.
Without the Chinese, did the Indonesians have the know-how to process the nickel ore?
No, we don't have the know-how. They have the technology. So we cooperate.
The global growth in the electric vehicle and battery industries aren't the only forces driving Morowali's spectacular growth. Indonesia, the world's largest nickel miner, banned the export of nickel ore in 2020. It's a controversial move that has been criticized by the WTO, IMF, and EU. But the ban compelled foreign investors to build smelters in the country, adding value to its metal exports and creating jobs.
Back in 2014, our export of the nickel ore, before we banned the export, our export of the nickel ore is only 1.1 billion US dollar. Right now, the export of the nickel product last year is about 34 billion US dollar. So you see the multiplier is very huge here.
Today, despite geopolitical tensions, companies from both East and West work here together to produce this 21st century gold.
This year is the hottest news for electric vehicle. So everybody come and invest for the battery raw material. Now coming in every year almost $5 to $6 billion investment. Mostly are Chinese, but also from Japan, from Korea, and from Australia. We don't do politics, okay? To me is, we welcome everybody. You want to come to invest, we welcome you. We don't care you are from the West or from the East. We are for the business, no politics.
There are big plans for Indonesia to move up the value chain.
We have this nickel, we have this copper, we have this bauxite, we have this cobalt, which is also very important as a material of this lithium battery and also for the electric vehicle. So on the upstream one, we have the resource that right now we are processing, but on the downstream one, we have also the needs here to actually reduce the emission. So actually we want to match this one. That's why I think we are changing our policy to push more on this electric vehicle adoption. We are inviting global EV automaker to come to Indonesia, set up their factory.
In March 2022, President Jokowi launched the first EV assembled in Indonesia. It was made by South Korean company Hyundai. Hyundai is also working with another 2 South Korean companies to make EV batteries in Indonesia. Also setting up shop in Indonesia are Chinese EV makers BYD and Wuling. In July 2023, when Mr. Widodo visited Australia, he said that strategic cooperation with Australia on EV batteries was a priority. US company Tesla has also been speaking with the Indonesian government about investments. So, perhaps in the foreseeable future, nickel could be processed here by Chinese companies, assembled into EV batteries by South Korean and potentially Australian companies, and making its way to cars made by both American and Chinese companies, demonstrating that in a world grappling with geopolitical tensions, global partnerships might still be the way forward.
In November, Indonesia and the United States upgraded its relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership. At the same time, China is often Indonesia's top foreign investor. So how will Indonesia navigate the geopolitics?
The very first principle for Indonesia is we are welcome to any country. For any investor to come to Indonesia, we should avoid a concentration of the supply chain into one single party. But I think in an effort to diversify the supply chain, we cannot exclude, single party and everything. So, for example, if we want to develop a diversified supply chain, we cannot just say, "Oh, I don't want China." No, it's not possible because the Western country would be 10 to 15 years behind of this Chinese technology in terms of the nickel processing. So we cannot exclude. What we can do, we can have a cooperation that is beneficial and mutual for every party, because I believe there is no single country, even no single region can fulfill all the critical minerals that we need for this energy transition.
After the talks between President Widodo and President Biden at the White House in November, a joint statement said the pair agreed to develop a critical minerals action plan that would seek to increase high-standard investment in both countries. The Critical Minerals Action Plan is a first step towards a larger limited free trade agreement, one that could open the gates for Indonesian entities to indirectly benefit from American subsidies.
Kita sadar dunia memang sedang tidak baik-baik saja. Tantangan masa depan semakin berat dan mengakibatkan perebutan pengaruh oleh kekuatan besar. Tapi ASEAN sudah sepakat untuk tidak menjadi proksi bagi kekuatan manapun, untuk bekerja sama dengan siapapun bagi perdamaian dan kemakmuran.
This is Tesla's Gigafactory in Shanghai, which started operations in 2018. And it won't just be manufacturing cars.